Hi, it's Laurie Roberts. This is my vlog for my Culminating project as a part of my special inquiry project through Idaho Coaching Network for the 2019-2020 returning teacher year. It took me several months this year to really finally decide what I wanted to do. And once I settled on that in January, I decided what would be most important for my classroom was to focus on creating a new unit for teaching students to prepare for the AP Literature exam. I've been teaching AP Literature for 17 years, and a year ago, the College Board announced a pretty significant change, which is a new rubric. And not only a new set of numbers, instead of 9-point scale, it's a 6-point scale, but they went from holistic to analytical, which is kind of a big deal and not an easy thing to teach myself, let alone my students. So I started working on what would be a new test prep unit, a sequence of lessons that I thought would help students understand the new rubric. They're seniors, so they're used to the old rubric. They've used it, almost all of them have used it in other AP classes, and I could feel in the fall their anxiety and stress about switching rubrics. So I really wanted to bring them a sense of comfort. My research or my inquiry into this involved a lot of looking at the AP resources, doing a close reading of the rubric itself with some friends, and then doing a close reading with students I found to be very helpful in the fall. But when we came back to it in the spring, I knew I wanted to go beyond that close reading and bring them some things like sample essays to look at, an opportunity to write those essays, and look for other ways that were new and outside of my box to prepare them for the AP exam. But here's what I really want to say. I think my real inquiry this year isn't about AP Literature. I think it's a continuing journey that I started really in 2013 when I joined the Idaho Coaching Network. And my real inquiry is about learning to collaborate and learning that this job, this profession is better when I talk to other people. All that stuff about AP Lit is important. It really is. And I came up with something that I feel pretty good about it, even though it got interrupted by the coronavirus and I didn't get to play out my whole sequence of lessons. But what I really want to talk about is the revelation that I keep having over and over in new and better ways, that through a series of interesting and not always interesting events, I spent the first 25 years of my career not collaborating really at all. Sometimes it was because I think early on, I think in the late 80s, early 90s, maybe even all through the 90s, the idea of collaborating wasn't even on a lot of teachers' radars. It wasn't anything I heard about in my pre-service days at the universities I attended. When I began to hear about it in the early 2000s, it felt very foreign and very strange. And then even as it became a part of my school district, I continued to be someone who often was a singleton. In other words, I was the only person teaching AP Lit. So I have continued to be an independent contractor. I have continued to be someone who, while I would attend classes and try to innovate and learn new things, I have not had a teaching partner. And I know a lot of my colleagues do have teaching partners. I am still learning how to learn and to teach and to plan with a partner. And having my coaches, Jackie and Emily and Brandon, and in particular this year, Brandon, be in effect the closest thing I have to a teaching partner is the real, I think, takeaway from my inquiry this year. Brandon and I sat down at a Starbucks back in mid-February, and I brought to him my ideas, and he simply made them better. He did all of those things that a teaching partner should do and a coach should do. I had this idea, for example, of having my students teach each other particular poems so that they could get some practice seeing what it's like to have to prepare the lesson and then tell someone else how to do it. We all know that sometimes we don't learn something really well until we've taught it. And I wanted to leverage that. And Brandon came up with this simple but brilliant idea that, because I said to him in that meeting at Starbucks, here's the only problem, Brandon. I've had students teach each other before, and I found that students are not really natural teachers. They get in front of the class, and a lot of times it's so incredibly bad or boring, and I realize I haven't given them enough scaffolding, enough structure, enough logistical help, and some of them are awesome, but a lot of them suck. And I kind of expected him to say, well, yeah, you can prepare them better. But he said this one little thing that made all the difference. And he basically said, what if they taught each other in small groups instead of whole group? And that became the basis for my whole 5-day sequence I was in the middle of when we stopped going to school. But again, let me go back to my takeaway. I am learning to trust that I don't have all the answers, and that really smart people, when I am willing to listen and share my ideas, can make me a better teacher. That's it.